Patrick, what are your experiences here in Michigan? How have you done in the races here?
Actually, we've actually done pretty good here. We've had some top tens and stuff. Last year was running like fourth and had a motor go away on us. And then I think my first time here is with Schrader in the 99 car, and we was running third or fourth and had another motor. So, you know, we just had some bad luck, but we've always ran pretty good here.
Let me ask you about the ARCA in general. I mean, for such a long time, you saw veterans dominate this series. You saw Frank Kimmel winning several championships in a row. You look at it nowadays, this series has gotten younger. If you could talk a little bit about what has maybe spurred that the youth movement in the ARCA class.
Well, you know, like I said earlier, there's a lot of people getting picked up out of ARCA now and going into the nationwide series and stuff like that. So, you know, that's why people are probably getting back into the ARCA series now, because they're seeing where people are coming from and, you know, the NASCAR guys are pulling them from. You know, the equipment is a big thing. Back when Kimmel and all them were winning all the championships, the cars were not out there to buy. Whenever they switched over to the COT car, you know, that gave a lot of equipment up for the ARCA racing series, you know. So that, the equipment and everything else, you know, just betters everybody.
Is there still room, you think, for veterans to come in here and be competitive?
Yeah, actually, I mean, you know, for rookies to come in here and racing against veteran drivers like that, there just gives them the experience they need to learn how to race, you know. That way they're not beating and banging. They've been there, done that. You know, when Schrader comes in, he respects everybody. You know, when Crafton came in, everybody like that, Kimmel. You know, it just shows you how to race hard and race clean.
Okay, any more?
Chad?
Yep.
Is this your first trip here to Michigan?
Actually, no. Last year, all I did was run the open tests, and this was one of the open tests I did run. So this is actually my second trip back, and we'll be back in, what is it, 2 weeks to run the race. So
with a lot of these younger drivers going to the video games and the you know, the interactive racing type of element, you know, sitting at home. Are you one that do you go and do that with the video games to get a feel for a racetrack, and how real are those video games if you do so?
I think they're pretty close to real, and I do have one. I get on every now and then before I go to a track just to you can get a feel for the marks. The times aren't necessarily realistic, but you can get a feel for the track and, you know, how wide it is, where the bumps and things are. You can get a feel for little things like that.
Can you talk a little bit about moving through the different series and getting the ARCA, maybe potentially moving further on to a nationwide series?
I started out in quarter midgets, actually racing up here in Lansing, Michigan, Waterford. Come from quarter midgets. I ran those for 3 years, and then went to the Legends cars, which are pretty much out of control, and so that taught me some card control. And then came to the ARCA series. And I think the ARCA series is a really good step going forward. They're really similar, you know, they're old Cup cars. They're very similar to the nationwide cars, and we're running some of the same speeds that those guys are at these tracks. So I think it's a good leverage going into the series.
All right, we'll go to Bryson and then bring up our next two guys.
Patrick, you talk about the series as far as you got a lot of guys out there that maybe you don't know. You know, the Cup guys, the nationwide guys, they're running with the same guys all the time, and there's a lot more, seems like a trust factor out there. For years, the ARCA guys would come here, it was almost a demolition derby, because there was a lot of, I don't know what that guy's going to do. Is there some of that still, or is there a pretty good trust out there between these guys, or are you afraid of the guys you don't know coming up behind you?
Well, you know who you can race with here, because, you know, whenever they come in, you know, when they come in with Schrader or somebody like that, or they come in with Venturini and people like that, you know, they're good drivers because, or they wouldn't be able to be, you know, Venturini or Schrader and nobody like that would put somebody that's going to be a weapon in their car. So you can pretty much trust everybody out here, and, you know, everybody knows the ones you can't. So, I mean, it's just a hit or miss deal.
Okay, thank you guys. Nelson, let's start with you. Your thoughts on this morning at MIS?
It was a bit of a slow morning. I mean, obviously, I think I went out twice. A lot of little problems here and there with the car. Still sorting them out. So hopefully a bit more runs this afternoon. But yeah, I mean, obviously, these first runs for me, like any other tracks, it's really completely new for me. You know, just getting used to the speed again, size of the track, the grip of the track, the low side, the high side. See if there's any dirty parts, if there's any more parts of place that are more grip here. I even asked the team this test to put some data acquisition in the car just to help me a little bit more to compare myself with my teammates, because you know, I mean, it's a whole day of testing, but sometimes when things go wrong you don't get to test a lot. So I mean, at least I have that to have a bit of a look around, just to get a bit of an idea of how things are going. So yeah, I mean, morning was a bit slow, so hopefully in the afternoon I'll be able to do a few more decent laps.
Okay, Steve, pursuing the championship this year in the ARCA Series, you're third in points right now. Let's talk about your morning here at Michigan.
I think we've had a really good morning. The times don't show it. We've learned a lot for sure. We got the new side window in the car. It's the first time for everyone here at an intermediate track with the new side window. And for all of us adventuring in motorsports, the intermediate tracks have been our strongest suit for sure. And we had a plan when we came here. We had a really good car in Texas. We got that car back here again, but there was still room for improvement. So we had a plan when we came here. Regardless how it goes, we're gonna stick to our plan and run through our motions on the things we want to test. Some of them have improved it a little bit. Some of them have hurt it a little bit. So now we're just kind of putting everything together that we learned this morning. We're really going to start our test this afternoon to kind of really see where we sit. As far as the Eddie Sharp guys, they're obviously really quick. Sheltra's really quick. So I think we're going to be in good shape.
Okay, let's open it up to questions.
Come on, we got to have a taker.
Mike, and then Jeff.
Nelson, what do you learn every time you go out in a stock car from your F1 and open wheel days? I mean, it's a steep learning curve for you.
Yeah, it's still steep, and it's still going to be steep for a long time, I would say. You know, I mean, obviously, if I would be in a car every day, then obviously it'd be easier. But I mean, you know, it's only once in a while. You know, I mean, I would say the 2 Daytona races wouldn't even count because it's so much different over there. It's flat out, and it's more about using your brains a little bit with the cars around you and just not getting involved in accidents. I mean, so the real tracks I've been reading was Texas with the ARCA, Charlotte last week, and now Michigan. You know, so it's like my first few days in school. You know, it's every time I get out, there's even my feedbacks need to be. I mean, I can translate exactly what I'm feeling, but I mean, the language that I speak is not the same as the crew chiefs over here than the engineers I would speak to in Europe. So there's still a lot to learn, a lot to feel in the car. You know, it's really, I'm going to need quite a while still. But I mean, driving part, I wouldn't say it's difficult. I mean, obviously, I've acquired that during my whole career. But I think the difficult thing is just getting to be closer to the car, know what the car is doing, and being able to tell the crew chief exactly what I need in the car to make it better, you know. And obviously we don't have data acquisition during a race weekend, so that's going to be a difficult thing for me to, you know, until I don't get 100% confident with the car and how it works exactly, and how I can translate what I'm feeling to the crew chief. That's going to hurt me a little bit, but I think that's the most important thing, is learning exactly how this car works, and obviously the tracks. You know, every time I go into a different track, it's you know, it's a whole different thing for me. You know, but it's going to be a long steep curve for quite a while, I would say.
Okay, Jeff.
What's the hardest transition going to where you have been to like a 2-mile track like Michigan?
You mean Europe from here or Charlotte from here?
Charlotte from here.
Well, I don't think there's a big difference from Charlotte from here. I mean, it's just 2 different types of tracks. I mean, obviously here is a much wider track, so there's a lot of choice. You need to really, I think, knowing the track very well makes a bit of a difference, knowing if there's more grip, low or high. But I think obviously that must change during a race weekend when there's more rubber, or when the temperature is higher or lower. These kind of things must change a lot. But yeah, it's just carrying the speed into the corner. All of that is still not something that's, you know, what I've been used to. You know, obviously I've been used to carrying a lot of speed, but I had a lot of downforce before. Now it's a bit different, you know. You're a bit of a banking. It's a different feeling. So